Remember when you first discovered South Park and thought it was just a simple cartoon about four kids saying bad words? Well, you were wrong. What started as a simple construction paper animation has become one of the most influential and longest-running animated series in television history. Over the past 26 years, Trey Parker and Matt Stone have created a cultural phenomenon that's tackled everything from celebrity scandals to global pandemics, often airing episodes just days after real-world events occur. Tonight, we're diving deep into the snowy mountains of Colorado to uncover the most fascinating, bizarre, and downright unbelievable facts about South Park. From a show's humble beginnings as a Christmas card that got the creators kicked out of college to the secret meanings behind character names. From production secrets that would make your head spin to celebrity reactions that are more outrageous than the episodes themselves. The story of South Park is unlike any other in television history. It's a tale of two college friends who accidentally created a global phenomenon while trying to make each other laugh. It's about a show that has survived boycotts, death threats, and countless attempts at censorship, yet continues to push boundaries that other programs wouldn't dare approach. It's about how a crude animated series became a legitimate form of social commentary that politicians, academics, and cultural critics take seriously. What makes South Park truly unique isn't just its willingness to offend or its rapid production schedule, though both of those elements are remarkable. What sets the show apart is its unwavering commitment to examining uncomfortable truths about society, politics, and human nature through the lens of satirical comedy. While other animated series focus on family dynamics or workplace humor, South Park uses its cartoon format to tackle subjects that live-action television wouldn't dare approach. The show's influence extends far beyond entertainment. South Park has changed how we think about free speech, religious criticism, and the role of satirical commentary in democratic society. It has inspired countless other creators, influenced political discourse, and even contributed to academic discussions about media, culture, and social criticism. The phrase "South Park did it" has become shorthand for the show's uncanny ability to predict cultural trends or address controversial topics before they become mainstream concerns. But perhaps most remarkably, South Park has managed to remain relevant across multiple generations of viewers. The show that scandalized parents in the 1990s is now being discovered by their children and grandchildren, who find new meaning in episodes that were created before they were born. This multi-generational appeal speaks to the timeless nature of the show's core themes: questioning authority, challenging social norms, and finding humor in the absurdities of modern life. The technical achievement of South Park is equally impressive. The show's 6-day production cycle, from script to broadcast, allows it to comment on current events with unprecedented speed. This rapid turnaround means that episodes about political scandals, natural disasters, or cultural phenomena can air while these topics are still dominating news cycles. No other television series has ever achieved this level of cultural responsiveness. The creative partnership between Trey Parker and Matt Stone represents one of the most successful collaborations in entertainment history. Their ability to maintain creative control over their work while producing hundreds of episodes across more than 2 decades is virtually unprecedented in television. They've managed to resist the commercial pressures that typically dilute satirical content, instead maintaining their artistic vision even when it costs them financially or creates legal challenges. As we explore the hidden stories behind South Park, we'll discover how a simple Christmas card led to a television empire, how 2 college students revolutionized animation production, and how a cartoon about 4th graders became one of the most sophisticated forms of social commentary in modern media. We'll learn about the real-life inspirations for iconic characters, the behind-the-scenes battles over controversial content, and the unexpected ways that South Park has influenced everything from politics to education. So grab your winter hat, settle in, and prepare to discover why this seemingly simple cartoon has managed to stay relevant, controversial, and absolutely hilarious for over 2 decades. Whether you're a longtime fan or someone who's never ventured into the chaotic world of Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny, these facts will give you a whole new appreciation for the genius madness that is South Park. Let's head down to South Park and have ourselves a time exploring the untold stories behind America's most irreverent animated series. The story of South Park begins not with a television pitch, but with a Christmas card that would change animation forever. In 1992, Trey Parker was a film student at the University of Colorado when he created The Spirit of Christmas, a crude stop-motion animation featuring four construction paper boys defending Jesus Christ against Santa Claus in a bizarre holiday battle. What started as a simple class project quickly evolved into something much more significant. Parker's professor was so impressed and possibly disturbed by the short film that it began circulating among students and faculty. The animation was raw, offensive, and unlike anything anyone had seen before, construction paper cutouts animated frame by frame, with dialogue that would make sailors blush. The original characters were recognizable precursors to the South Park boys we know today. Stan was called Stan, Kyle was Kyle, but Kenny was actually named Kenny McCormick, close to his current surname McCormick, and the character who would become Cartman was simply called Cartman. Even in this early iteration, Kenny died, a tradition that would become one of the show's most iconic running gags. But here's where things get interesting. The Christmas card almost got Parker expelled from college. University officials were horrified by the content, viewing it as blasphemous and inappropriate. However, Parker's film professor defended the work as legitimate artistic expression, arguing that animation as a medium shouldn't be limited to Disney-style family entertainment. Parker's background made him an unlikely candidate to revolutionize television. Growing up in Conifer, Colorado, he was obsessed with musical theater and Monty Python. His early attempts at filmmaking included elaborate productions staged in his parents' backyard, complete with special effects created using household items and boundless imagination. Even as a child, Parker was drawn to boundary-pushing humor that made adults uncomfortable. The creation process for the original Spirit of Christmas was painstakingly primitive. Parker cut each character out of construction paper by hand, then moved them tiny increments between photographs. The entire 4-minute short required thousands of individual photos and weeks of meticulous work. The result was charmingly crude, with visible fingerprints on the paper cutouts and slightly shaky movements that gave the animation an organic, handmade quality. In 1995, Parker teamed up with his friend Matt Stone to create a second version called The Spirit of Christmas, Jesus vs. Santa. This version was longer, more polished, and even more controversial. Executive Brian Graydon commissioned the short as a video Christmas card to send to friends in Hollywood. Little did Graydon know he was about to unleash something that would reshape television comedy. Matt Stone brought a different sensibility to the partnership. While Parker was the theatrical visionary, Stone provided practical business sense and helped refine the satirical edge that would become South Park's trademark. Stone's own background included exposure to diverse religious and cultural perspectives that would later influence the show's fearless approach to controversial topics. The video quickly became one of the first viral sensations of the early internet age. Before YouTube, before social media, the Spirit of Christmas spread through email chains, copied VHS tapes, and early file-sharing networks. Celebrities, executives, and comedy writers were all talking about this bizarre, offensive, and utterly captivating piece of animation. George Clooney was among the early champions of the short film, showing it to friends and colleagues in Hollywood. The video made its way to Comedy Central through a complex network of personal connections, with each viewer seemingly compelled to share it with others. This organic word-of-mouth marketing demonstrated the power of truly original content to capture audience attention. Comedy Central executives eventually saw the short and immediately recognized its potential. The network was looking for edgy content that would appeal to younger audiences and differentiate itself from more mainstream networks. South Park was exactly what they needed: controversial, topical, and absolutely fearless in its approach to comedy. The network's initial concerns centered around whether the crude animation style would appeal to television audiences accustomed to more polished productions. However, test screenings revealed that viewers found the handmade aesthetic charming and authentic. The construction paper look actually enhanced the show's outsider appeal and suggested that anyone with creativity and determination could create meaningful art. The transition from short film to television series required significant changes. The original stop-motion animation was too time-consuming for weekly television production. So Parker and Stone developed a new technique using construction paper cutouts and computer animation that mimicked the handmade aesthetic while allowing for much faster production times. Negotiating the television deal required Parker and Stone to fight for creative control that was unprecedented for first-time television creators. They insisted on maintaining ownership of their characters and demanded the right to address controversial topics without network interference. Comedy Central's willingness to grant these concessions proved crucial to South Park's long-term success and creative integrity. The pilot episode production presented numerous challenges, from voice acting techniques to animation workflows that had never been attempted before. Parker and Stone essentially invented their production process while creating the first episodes, establishing methods that would remain largely unchanged for decades. By 1997, South Park premiered on Comedy Central, and television would never be the same. The show's origins as a college Christmas card remind us that sometimes the most groundbreaking art comes from the most unexpected places, and that what authorities consider inappropriate might just be exactly what the world needs to see. The early success of South Park validated the idea that audiences were hungry for content that challenged conventional boundaries and addressed topics that mainstream television avoided. The show's rapid rise from college project to cultural phenomenon demonstrated how quickly original ideas could find audiences in the emerging digital media landscape. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are the mad scientists behind South Park's controlled chaos, but their partnership extends far beyond just creating offensive cartoons. These two creative powerhouses have revolutionized not just animation, but commentary, satire, and the very concept of what television can accomplish in the modern age. Trey Parker, born in Colorado, was always drawn to performance and controversy. Even as a child, he was creating elaborate shows for his family, often featuring dark humor that concerned his parents. His early fascination with musical theater, yes, the creator of South Park is a musical theater nerd, would later influence some of the show's most memorable episodes and eventually lead to the creation of the Book of Mormon Broadway musical. Parker's childhood was spent in the Colorado mountains, where he developed an appreciation for small-town dynamics and the quirky characters that would later populate South Park. His parents encouraged his creative pursuits, even when his homemade films featured increasingly dark and satirical content. By high school, Parker was already creating elaborate musicals and films that pushed boundaries and challenged his audience's comfort levels. The young Parker's obsession with filmmaking led him to experiment with stop-motion animation using action figures and household items. These early experiments taught him the patience and attention to detail that would later prove crucial in developing South Park's distinctive animation style. He spent countless hours in his bedroom, moving toys frame by frame to create elaborate battle sequences and comedic scenarios. Matt Stone, Parker's creative partner and voice of reason, relatively speaking, brings a different energy to their collaboration. Stone often serves as the business mind and strategic thinker, while Parker tends to be the artistic visionary. Their complementary skills have allowed them to maintain creative control over South Park in ways that most television creators never achieve. Stone's background provides crucial balance to the partnership. Growing up in a Jewish family in Colorado gave him first-hand experience with being an outsider in a predominantly Christian culture, experiences that would later inform Kyle Broflovsky's character and many of the show's religious storylines. Stone's analytical mind helps ground Parker's more fantastical ideas in practical reality. The duo met at the University of Colorado, where they bonded over their shared love of Monty Python, underground comics, and boundary-pushing humor. Their early collaborations included student films that were already showing signs of the satirical sensibility that would define South Park. They challenged each other creatively, with each trying to outdo the other in terms of audacity and originality. But here's what most people don't know. Parker and Stone write, direct, and edit every single episode of South Park themselves. In an industry where shows typically have rooms full of writers, South Park operates more like an independent film production. This hands-on approach allows them to maintain their unique voice and respond to current events with unprecedented speed. Their decision to maintain complete creative control came at significant financial cost. They turned down larger deals that would have given networks more input into content decisions, instead accepting smaller contracts that preserved their artistic independence. This choice proved crucial to the show's long-term success and cultural impact. The duo's work process is legendary in Hollywood for being both incredibly efficient and absolutely insane. They typically start writing an episode on Wednesday, with the goal of airing it the following Wednesday, a 6-day production cycle that would be impossible for any other animated series. This compressed timeline allows South Park to comment on events that happen just days before an episode airs, making it one of the most current and relevant shows on television. During production weeks, Parker and Stone essentially live at the studio, working 18-hour days and sleeping on couches between work sessions. Their dedication to meeting deadlines while maintaining quality has become legendary among industry professionals. The stress of this schedule has led to both creative breakthroughs and occasional mental breakdowns, but they've consistently delivered episodes that meet their high standards. Their creative philosophy centers around the idea that nothing should be off-limits for comedy. Parker and Stone have stated that they believe comedy serves an important social function by forcing people to examine uncomfortable truths and question authority. This philosophy has led them to tackle subjects that other shows wouldn't dare approach, from religious extremism to political scandals to social media culture. The pair's influence extends far beyond South Park. They've created films like Team America, World Police, won Tony Awards for The Book of Mormon, and established themselves as major voices in American satire. Their work consistently demonstrates that comedy can be both wildly entertaining and deeply intelligent, often simultaneously. Team America showcased their ability to apply South Park's satirical approach to different formats and subjects. The film's use of marionettes to satirize action movies and American foreign policy demonstrated their versatility as creators and their commitment to pushing boundaries regardless of the medium. What makes their partnership so effective is their shared commitment to authenticity over commercial appeal. They've turned down countless opportunities to sell out or water down their content for broader appeal. This dedication to their artistic vision has allowed South Park to remain fresh and relevant even after more than 2 decades on the air. The creators' willingness to take personal risks for their art has inspired other satirists and comedians to be more fearless in their own work. They've received death threats, faced legal challenges, and endured public criticism, but they've never compromised their vision to avoid controversy. Parker and Stone's legacy isn't just about creating a successful television show. They've fundamentally changed how we think about animation, satire, and the role of comedy in society. They've proven that cartoon characters can tackle serious subjects, that offensive humor can serve important social purposes, and that artistic integrity doesn't have to be sacrificed for commercial success. South Park's animation style is so distinctive that it's instantly recognizable, but the journey from construction paper cutouts to digital animation is a fascinating tale of innovation, necessity, and artistic stubbornness. What appears to be simple, even crude animation, is actually the result of sophisticated techniques and creative problem-solving. The original Spirit of Christmas shorts were created using actual construction paper, scissors, and stop-motion animation. Parker would cut out individual pieces of paper, move them frame by frame, and photograph each position. This painstaking process resulted in the unique, handmade aesthetic that would become South Park's signature look. However, producing a weekly television series using this method would have been impossible. The construction paper technique wasn't chosen for artistic reasons initially. It was born out of necessity and budget constraints. Parker was a broke college student who couldn't afford professional animation materials or equipment. Construction paper was cheap, readily available, and easy to work with. The distinctive look that would later become South Park's trademark was originally just a practical solution to financial limitations. Each character in the original shorts required multiple paper cutouts to achieve different poses and expressions. Parker would create separate pieces for heads, bodies, arms, and legs, then combine them in different configurations to create the illusion of movement. This modular approach to character construction would later influence the digital animation techniques that South Park still uses today. When Comedy Central picked up South Park, Parker and Stone faced a major challenge: how to maintain the distinctive construction paper look while meeting the demanding schedule of television production. Their solution was revolutionary for its time. They would use computer animation software to recreate the appearance of construction paper cutouts. The transition to digital animation required extensive experimentation and technical innovation. The animation team had to develop new techniques for creating digital textures that looked like real construction paper, complete with the subtle variations in color and texture that give real paper its authentic appearance. This attention to detail was crucial for maintaining the show's distinctive aesthetic. The animation team developed a unique process using software called Power Animator, later Maya, to create digital versions of construction paper characters. Every character is essentially a flat, two-dimensional digital cutout that can be manipulated and animated much faster than physical paper. This technique allows them to maintain the show's distinctive aesthetic while producing episodes at television speed. But here's the really clever part. The digital animation deliberately includes imperfections that mimic the handmade original. Characters occasionally have slight registration issues. Colors sometimes don't align perfectly, and movements have a subtle shakiness that replicates the natural variations in hand-cut paper animation. These flaws are intentionally programmed into the digital process to maintain authenticity. The character design philosophy emphasizes simplicity and instant recognizability. Each character can be identified immediately by their silhouette alone, a principle borrowed from classic Disney animation but applied to a completely different aesthetic. The simple designs also allow for rapid animation and easy modification for different expressions and poses. The animation style also serves important narrative purposes. The deliberately simple character designs allow viewers to focus on dialogue and storytelling rather than being distracted by elaborate visuals. This minimalist approach forces the writing to be strong and the voices to be distinctive, which has contributed significantly to the show's success. Color palettes in South Park are carefully chosen to enhance the construction paper aesthetic while serving storytelling functions. The bright, saturated colors typical of construction paper create a cheerful contrast to the often dark subject matter of the episodes. This visual irony enhances the satirical impact of controversial content. South Park's animation efficiency is legendary in the industry. While most animated series require months of production time per episode, South Park can complete an episode in 6 days. This is only possible because of their streamlined animation process and the fact that character models can be easily reused and modified for different scenes and expressions. The show's animation has evolved over the years while maintaining its core aesthetic. Early episodes were produced at lower resolution and had more limited animation, but advances in technology have allowed for more complex scenes, better special effects, and more detailed backgrounds while keeping the essential construction paper look. Special effects in South Park are achieved through creative use of the same construction paper aesthetic. Explosions, magical effects, and fantastical elements are all rendered in the same flat, two-dimensional style as the characters. This consistency helps maintain the show's visual coherence even during the most outrageous sequences. One of the most interesting aspects of South Park's animation is how it influences other animated series. Many shows have attempted to copy the crude aesthetic, not realizing that South Park's simplicity is actually quite sophisticated. The deceptively simple style requires careful attention to timing, character design, and visual storytelling. The animation style has also allowed South Park to tackle subjects that might be too controversial in live action. The cartoon format provides a layer of abstraction that makes difficult topics more palatable, while still delivering powerful social commentary. Characters can be subjected to extreme violence or placed in outrageous situations without the visceral impact that live action would create. Background animation in South Park receives less attention, but serves important functions in establishing mood and setting. The simple, geometric buildings and landscapes of South Park create a timeless small-town atmosphere that could exist anywhere in America. This universal quality helps audiences connect with the characters and situations. Perhaps most importantly, the animation style reflects the show's overall philosophy, that effective communication doesn't require expensive production values or elaborate presentation. Sometimes the most powerful messages come in the simplest packages, and South Park's animation proves that creativity and intelligence matter more than budget and polish. The technical legacy of South Park's animation extends beyond the show itself, influencing how other creators approach low-budget animation and proving that distinctive visual style can be more important than technical sophistication in creating memorable entertainment. While South Park features dozens of characters with distinct personalities and voices, the most remarkable fact about the show's vocal performances is that nearly every character is voiced by just two people, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. This incredible feat of voice acting has created some of the most memorable characters in television history. Trey Parker voices the majority of the main characters, including Stan Marsh, Eric Cartman, Mr. Garrison, Randy Marsh, and countless others. His ability to seamlessly switch between completely different vocal personalities within a single scene is nothing short of extraordinary. Parker's background in theater and musical performance gives him the vocal range and control necessary to create such distinct character voices. The development of each character voice involves careful consideration of personality, background, and comedic function. Parker doesn't just change his pitch or accent. He completely transforms his vocal approach for each character. Eric Cartman requires a nasal, whiny delivery that reflects his spoiled, manipulative personality, while Randy Marsh needs a voice that can convey both parental authority and complete absurdity. Stan Marsh, one of the four main boys, serves as something of Parker's alter ego. Stan's voice is essentially Parker's natural speaking voice, which makes sense since Stan often represents the normal perspective in South Park's chaotic world. However, even this seemingly simple vocal choice requires careful consistency across hundreds of episodes spanning more than 2 decades. The vocal consistency challenge becomes even more impressive when you consider that Parker has been voicing these characters since his 20s, and his natural voice has changed over time. He's had to consciously maintain the vocal characteristics of characters like Stan and Cartman, even as his own voice has matured and deepened with age. Eric Cartman is perhaps Parker's most impressive vocal creation. Cartman's distinctive whiny, nasal voice was inspired by various sources, including Archie Bunker from All in the Family and stereotypical portrayals of overweight, spoiled children from classic television. Parker has to maintain this challenging vocal quality for extended periods, as Cartman often has lengthy monologues and is featured prominently in most episodes. The physical demands of voicing Cartman are considerable. The nasal quality requires Parker to constrict his vocal passages in ways that can be exhausting during long recording sessions. He's developed specific warm-up exercises and vocal techniques to maintain the character's voice without damaging his own vocal cords. Matt Stone's primary character is Kyle Broflovsky, whose voice reflects Stone's own Jewish background and serves as a moral compass for the show. Stone also voices Kenny McCormick, though Kenny's muffled dialogue, caused by his trademark orange parka, presents unique challenges. Stone has to deliver Kenny's lines in a way that sounds muffled but remains somewhat understandable to viewers who pay close attention. Kenny's muffled speech required the development of a specific technique where Stone speaks the lines clearly but with his mouth partially covered or positioned to create the muffled effect. This approach allows the dialogue to be comprehensible to dedicated listeners while maintaining the character's distinctive vocal trademark. The vocal performances extend far beyond the four main boys. Parker voices Randy Marsh, Stan's father, who has evolved from a minor supporting character to one of the show's most popular figures. Randy's voice perfectly captures the character's pretentious, pseudo-intellectual personality while maintaining the comedic timing necessary for his increasingly outrageous storylines. Mr. Garrison, South Park Elementary's perpetually inappropriate teacher, showcases Parker's range in a different way. Throughout the series, Garrison has undergone various personality changes and even gender reassignment, requiring Parker to adjust the vocal performance while maintaining the character's essential identity. This evolution demonstrates how voice acting can support character development over long-term storytelling. The supporting character voices reveal the true extent of Parker and Stone's vocal abilities. From a mayor's high-pitched enthusiasm to Chef's smooth baritone, before Isaac Hayes left the show, from various celebrity impressions to one-off background characters, Parker and Stone create distinct vocal personalities for hundreds of different roles. One of the most challenging aspects of South Park's voice work is the rapid production schedule. Parker and Stone must record all dialogue within the show's 6-day production cycle, often working long hours to capture every character's lines. This compressed timeline requires exceptional preparation and vocal stamina. Female characters present particular challenges for Parker and Stone, as they must convincingly portray characters like Wendy Testaberger, Leanne Cartman, and Sharon Marsh. Their approach focuses on personality-driven vocal choices rather than attempting traditionally feminine voices, which helps maintain the show's authentic feel. The show occasionally features celebrity guest voices, but these are surprisingly rare given South Park's tendency to satirize famous people. Parker and Stone prefer to voice celebrity parodies themselves, which allows them greater creative control and ensures that the satirical intent comes through clearly. Their impressions of celebrities like Al Gore, Mel Gibson, and various politicians have become as memorable as the actual public figures. Voice acting for South Park also involves creating distinct vocal patterns for different types of characters. Authority figures like police officers and government officials tend to have similar vocal characteristics that Parker and Stone use to satirize institutional incompetence. Religious figures often share certain vocal qualities that enhance the show's religious satire. The emotional range required for South Park voice acting extends beyond comedy into genuine dramatic moments. When episodes deal with serious topics like depression, family problems, or social issues, Parker and Stone must deliver performances that convey real emotion while maintaining character authenticity. The vocal performances in South Park prove that voice acting is much more than just reading lines. Parker and Stone use timing, inflection, and subtle vocal choices to convey complex emotions and advance storylines. Their ability to maintain character consistency across hundreds of episodes while adapting to new situations and storylines is a testament to their skill as performers and creators. "Oh my God, they killed Kenny. You bastards." This iconic exchange has become one of the most recognizable catchphrases in television history. But the story behind Kenny McCormick's recurring deaths is far more complex and meaningful than most viewers realize. Kenny's death tradition began in the very first South Park episodes and quickly became a running gag that defined the show's irreverent approach to comedy. In the early seasons, Kenny died in nearly every episode, often in elaborate, absurd ways that became increasingly creative as the writers challenged themselves to find new methods of cartoon mortality. The origins of Kenny's deaths trace back to Parker and Stone's childhood experiences in Colorado. They knew kids from poor families who would disappear from school for weeks at a time, only to return as if nothing had happened. This real-world observation about economic invisibility inspired the idea of a character who could die and return without explanation or lasting consequence. The deaths themselves range from mundane accidents to supernatural encounters to completely bizarre circumstances. Kenny has been crushed by falling objects, killed by various animals, struck by lightning, frozen to death, and subjected to countless other forms of cartoon violence. Each death is designed to be shocking in its suddenness, while maintaining the show's darkly comedic tone. The creative process behind Kenny's deaths became a challenge for the writers, who had to continuously invent new and unexpected ways for the character to meet his demise. Early deaths were relatively simple, falling off a cliff or being hit by a vehicle. But as the show progressed, the deaths became more elaborate and fantastical, involving alien abductions, demonic possessions, and complex Rube Goldberg-style chain reactions. But here's what makes Kenny's deaths truly fascinating. They're never permanent, and this fact is never explained within the show's reality. Kenny simply reappears in the next episode with no acknowledgement of his previous demise. This creates a surreal element that challenges viewers' expectations about narrative consistency and character continuity. The running gag serves multiple purposes within South Park's storytelling framework. First, it establishes the show's willingness to break conventional rules about children's television. Showing a child character dying repeatedly, even in cartoon form, was unprecedented and immediately signaled that South Park would not conform to traditional animated series standards. Kenny's deaths also function as a commentary on media violence and desensitization. By making death routine and consequence-free, Parker and Stone highlight how easily audiences become accustomed to violence when it's presented in entertaining packages. The other characters' brief expressions of shock followed by immediate acceptance mirrors how society often processes real-world violence. The tradition evolved significantly over the show's run. In early seasons, Kenny's deaths were often the climax of an episode, with elaborate setups leading to his demise. As the show matured, his deaths became more integrated into storylines, or sometimes occurred as brief, almost throwaway moments that tested whether viewers were still paying attention. The catchphrase itself became a cultural phenomenon that extended far beyond the show. "Oh my God, they killed Kenny," entered common usage as a way to express shock at unexpected events, while "you bastards" became a general expression of outrage. The phrases have been referenced in everything from political speeches to academic papers, demonstrating their penetration into mainstream culture. Season 5 marked a major turning point when Kenny was permanently killed off and replaced by Butterscotch as the fourth main character. This decision reflected the creator's desire to explore new storytelling possibilities without being constrained by the death gag. However, fan demand and the writer's own attachment to the character led to Kenny's resurrection in Season 6. The permanent death storyline allowed the show to explore themes of grief, loss, and friendship in ways that the running gag had previously prevented. The other boys' reactions to losing Kenny forever provided some of the series' most emotionally resonant moments, proving that South Park could handle serious subject matter when necessary. When Kenny returned, his deaths became less frequent and more meaningful to specific storylines. The writers began using his mortality as a tool for exploring deeper themes, rather than simply as a repetitive gag. This evolution demonstrates how South Park has consistently adapted its comedic elements to serve larger narrative purposes. The Kenny death tradition has had significant cultural impact beyond the show itself. The phrase, "Oh my God, they killed Kenny," has been referenced in countless other media, from movies to television shows to internet memes. It's become shorthand for unexpected character deaths in any form of entertainment. From a production standpoint, Kenny's death presented unique challenges for the voice actors and animators. Each death required careful choreography to achieve maximum comedic impact while maintaining the show's animation style. The reactions of other characters, particularly Kyle's horrified exclamation and Stan's disgusted response, became as important as the deaths themselves. The tradition also highlights South Park's approach to character development. While Kenny dies repeatedly, he's also revealed to have a rich inner life, complex family relationships, and genuine friendships with the other boys. This juxtaposition between his expendable role in the death gag and his importance as a character creates an interesting tension that adds depth to his presence in the series. Later episodes revealed that Kenny's deaths and resurrections are actually the result of his parents' involvement with a Cthulhu cult, providing a supernatural explanation for the running gag. This revelation added mythological depth to what had been a simple comedic device, showing how South Park can retroactively add meaning to its most absurd elements. Kenny's deaths ultimately represent South Park's broader philosophy about comedy and social commentary. They demonstrate how absurdist humor can be used to examine serious topics, how repetition can create meaning rather than just familiarity, and how breaking rules can lead to more effective storytelling than following them. South Park's fearless approach to celebrity satire has resulted in some of the most memorable television moments in history. But the real-world reactions from the celebrities themselves often prove to be even more entertaining than the episodes that inspired them. The show's celebrity episodes range from gentle ribbing to absolutely savage takedowns, and the target's responses have been equally varied. Some celebrities have embraced their South Park portrayals with good humor, while others have threatened lawsuits, demanded censorship, or completely lost their minds in public forums. The philosophy behind South Park celebrity satire is rooted in the belief that public figures should expect satirical treatment as part of their fame. Parker and Stone have consistently argued that celebrities benefit from public attention and therefore must accept both positive and negative commentary. This approach has led to some of the most fearless celebrity parodies in television history. One of the most famous celebrity reactions came from Isaac Hayes, who voiced Chef for the first 9 seasons of the show. Hayes quit South Park after the episode Trapped in the Closet, which satirized Scientology and Tom Cruise. Hayes, a Scientologist himself, claimed the show had become bigoted against religious beliefs. However, Parker and Stone pointed out that Hayes had no problem when the show mocked Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and every other religion. His departure led to one of the show's most controversial episodes, where Chef was literally brainwashed by a cult and then killed off in typically outrageous South Park fashion. The Isaac Hayes situation revealed the hypocrisy that South Park often exposes in its targets. Hayes had been perfectly comfortable with the show's satirical approach until it targeted his own beliefs. This reaction pattern would repeat with many other celebrities who could laugh at others being mocked, but couldn't handle being targets themselves. Tom Cruise's reaction to his South Park portrayal was equally dramatic. The episode depicted Cruise hiding in a closet, a not-so-subtle reference to rumors about his sexuality, and featured him alongside other Scientologists in unflattering situations. Cruise reportedly threatened to boycott promotion for Mission Impossible 3 if Comedy Central reran the episode. The network initially pulled the episode from rotation, leading to speculation about celebrity influence over media content. The Tom Cruise incident demonstrated the real power that major celebrities can wield over media companies. Comedy Central's initial capitulation showed how corporate interests sometimes conflict with free expression, though the network eventually resumed airing the episode after public criticism of their censorship. Kanye West's response to his South Park appearance was surprisingly positive. The episode Fish Sticks portrayed West as unable to understand a simple joke about fish sticks and fish dicks, playing on his reputation for taking himself too seriously. Instead of being offended, West later admitted that the episode was pretty funny and even helped him develop more self-awareness about his public persona. West's positive reaction demonstrated how celebrities can benefit from satirical treatment when they respond with humor and self-reflection. His willingness to acknowledge the accuracy of the satire actually improved his public image and showed maturity that surprised many observers. Barbra Streisand received one of South Park's most elaborate celebrity treatments in the second episode ever produced. Mecha Streisand portrayed her as a giant mechanical monster destroying South Park, and her reaction was swift and negative. Streisand's representatives threatened legal action and demanded the episode be pulled from circulation. Instead, Parker and Stone doubled down, continuing to mock Streisand in subsequent episodes and establishing the precedent that threats would only result in more ridicule. The Streisand reaction became a template for how South Park handles celebrity complaints. Rather than backing down from legal threats or public criticism, the show typically responds with even more aggressive satirical treatment. This approach has discouraged many celebrities from complaining publicly about their portrayals. Jennifer Lopez was featured in multiple episodes, including one where she was portrayed as a conniving hand puppet manipulated by Ben Affleck. Lopez's team initially threatened legal action, but the threats subsided when lawyers explained that satirical portrayals are protected speech. The episodes actually increased public interest in Lopez, demonstrating how South Park controversy can sometimes benefit its targets. Some celebrities have taken a more strategic approach to their South Park portrayals. When the show created episodes about celebrities like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, and Lindsay Lohan during their public struggles, these figures largely remained silent, possibly recognizing that responding would only generate more attention for the episodes. Political figures have generally been more accepting of their South Park treatments, perhaps because political satire is expected in their line of work. Al Gore embraced his portrayal as an environmental obsessive in episodes about Man, Bear, Pig, even referencing the show in his real-world presentations. Donald Trump, before his presidency, seemed relatively unbothered by his South Park appearances, though his social media habits suggest he might respond differently today. The show's portrayal of religious figures has generated some of the most intense reactions. While depicting Jesus as a talk show host raised some eyebrows, the episodes featuring the Prophet Muhammad created international controversy. Death threats against Parker and Stone led to increased security measures and demonstrated how South Park's comedy could have real-world consequences. Perhaps the most unexpected celebrity reaction came from George Clooney, who actively sought out a role on South Park. Clooney voiced Stan's dog Sparky in an early episode, apparently as a favor to a friend who worked on the show. His willingness to participate, even in a minor role, showed that some celebrities understood and appreciated the show's satirical intent. The celebrity reactions to South Park reveal important truths about fame, ego, and the relationship between public figures and media satire. Those who respond with humor and self-awareness often see their public image improve, while those who react with anger or legal threats typically generate more negative attention for themselves. These reactions also highlight South Park's broader impact on celebrity culture. The show has created an environment where public figures must consider how their actions might be satirized, potentially influencing behavior in subtle but meaningful ways. The threat of South Park mockery has become a real consideration for celebrities and politicians alike. South Park has built its reputation on pushing boundaries, but certain episodes have transcended mere controversy to fundamentally change what television can address and how it can address it. These landmark episodes didn't just entertain. They forced society to confront uncomfortable truths and redefine the limits of satirical comedy. The development of controversial episodes often begins with Parker and Stone identifying topics that other media outlets are avoiding or handling with excessive caution. Their approach involves diving headfirst into subjects that make people uncomfortable, using humor as a vehicle to examine issues that might otherwise be dismissed or ignored. The Passion of the Jew tackled Mel Gibson's controversial film, The Passion of the Christ, while simultaneously addressing anti-Semitism and religious extremism. The episode portrayed Gibson as an unhinged lunatic obsessed with torture and suffering, years before his real-world anti-Semitic rants became public knowledge. This prescient satire demonstrated South Park's ability to see through celebrity facades and predict future scandals. The episode's treatment of religious themes was particularly bold, as it critiqued both Gibson's film and the broader cultural response to it. Communication, cultural misunderstanding, and the power of media to amplify conflicts beyond their original scope. The Christmas episodes feature numerous original carols and holiday songs that parody traditional Christmas music while commenting on commercialization and religious themes. Songs like Merry F*** King Christmas and Christmas Time in Hell subvert holiday music expectations while maintaining catchy melodies that make them genuinely memorable. These Christmas songs demonstrate how South Park can simultaneously celebrate and critique cultural traditions. The melodies are often beautiful and genuinely moving, while the lyrics provide satirical commentary that challenges conventional holiday sentiment without completely dismissing the emotional power of seasonal music. Randy Marsh's musical performances throughout the series showcase how music can reveal character psychology. Whether he's performing as the boy band member Stan's dad or creating elaborate songs about various obsessions, Randy's musical numbers expose his narcissistic personality and midlife crisis tendencies. These songs work as character development tools while providing comedic entertainment. Randy's musical episodes often feature him as a failed musician who believes he has more talent than he actually possesses. This delusion creates opportunities for both musical parody and character exploration, as his songs reveal his desperate need for attention and validation. The show's use of existing popular songs creates additional layers of meaning through ironic juxtaposition. When characters sing along to recognizable tunes in inappropriate contexts, the familiar melodies enhance the satirical impact. This technique allows South Park to comment on both the original songs and the situations where they're being performed. The Book of Mormon, while not technically part of South Park, represents the ultimate evolution of Parker and Stone's musical sensibilities. The Broadway musical incorporates the same irreverent humor and satirical approach that characterizes South Park's musical numbers, but expanded into a full theatrical experience. The musical's success validated the sophisticated musical knowledge that South Park fans had observed for years. The show's parody songs often become more memorable than their original sources. When South Park creates musical parodies of contemporary hits, the satirical versions frequently outlast the popularity of the original songs. This longevity demonstrates the effectiveness of combining familiar melodies with sharp satirical lyrics. Musical episodes like South Park, the musical, and various Christmas specials show how the series can sustain musical content across entire episodes without losing narrative momentum. These episodes prove that South Park's musical elements aren't just occasional novelties. They're integral to the show's storytelling capabilities. The technical quality of South Park's music production has evolved significantly over the show's run. Early episodes featured simple MIDI-style backing tracks, while recent seasons include full orchestral arrangements and professional studio production values. This evolution reflects the show's growing budget and the creator's commitment to musical excellence. Guest musicians and celebrity voices have occasionally contributed to South Park's musical landscape, though the show typically prefers to maintain control over its musical content. When celebrities do contribute, their performances are usually integrated into the show's satirical framework rather than serving as simple promotional opportunities. The international impact of South Park's music extends beyond English-speaking audiences. Songs from the show have been translated into multiple languages, and the musical themes transcend cultural barriers. The universal appeal of music helps South Park's satirical messages reach global audiences who might not fully understand cultural references. South Park's influence extends far beyond American television, creating international incidents, inspiring global censorship debates, and fundamentally changing how satirical content is perceived worldwide. The show's global reach has resulted in both devoted international fan bases and diplomatic controversies that demonstrate the power of animated comedy to affect real-world politics. The show's international distribution began shortly after its American premiere, but different countries' reactions varied dramatically based on cultural values, religious beliefs, and government censorship policies. While some nations embraced South Park as groundbreaking satirical entertainment, others banned it entirely or heavily censored its content. The process of international distribution required careful negotiation with broadcasters who had to balance the show's appeal with local cultural sensitivities and government regulations. Many countries required extensive editing or complete episode removal to make the content acceptable for local audiences, creating vastly different viewing experiences across different markets. Germany's relationship with South Park illustrates the complex international dynamics surrounding controversial comedy. German broadcasters initially aired heavily edited versions that removed religious references and toned down violence. But fan demand for uncensored content led to the availability of original versions through cable networks and streaming services. This evolution reflects changing German attitudes towards satirical content and American cultural exports. The German censorship approach revealed interesting cultural differences in what content was considered acceptable. While violence was heavily edited, sexual content and profanity were often left intact, reflecting European attitudes that differ significantly from American broadcast standards. These editorial choices created a version of South Park that was uniquely German in its approach to controversial content. The United Kingdom embraced South Park more readily than many other European countries, with British audiences appreciating the show's irreverent humor and anti-authority themes. British comedy traditions that include satirical programs like Monty Python and The Young Ones created a receptive environment for South Park's aggressive satirical approach. British broadcasters found that South Park's satirical sensibilities aligned well with existing British comedy traditions, making it easier to market the show to local audiences. The success in the UK demonstrated how cultural compatibility could overcome potential concerns about American content dominating local media markets. Japan's reception of South Park proved particularly interesting because the show frequently references Japanese culture, anime, and gaming. Japanese audiences recognize the accuracy of many cultural references while appreciating the show's understanding of Japanese media. However, episodes dealing with Japanese whaling or other sensitive cultural topics generated more controversial reactions. The Japanese response revealed how cultural knowledge could either enhance or complicate satirical reception. When South Park demonstrated genuine understanding of Japanese culture, audiences appreciated the attention to detail. However, when episodes touched on sensitive political or cultural issues, the same cultural knowledge made the satire more pointed and potentially offensive. Canada's response to South Park has been notably good-natured despite the show's frequent mockery of Canadian culture, politics, and stereotypes. Canadian audiences generally appreciate the satirical intent behind portrayals of Canadians as having flapping heads and saying "a boot." This positive reception demonstrates how satirical comedy can strengthen rather than damage international relationships when audiences understand the satirical context. The Canadian reaction established a model for how countries could respond positively to satirical treatment. By embracing the humor rather than taking offense, Canada demonstrated cultural confidence that actually enhanced its international image rather than diminishing it. The show's portrayal of Middle Eastern cultures and Islamic themes created significant international controversy, particularly regarding episodes featuring the Prophet Muhammad. While American audiences debated free speech versus religious sensitivity, international reactions included death threats, diplomatic protests, and discussions about Western satirical traditions versus Islamic religious prohibitions. These controversies revealed fundamental differences in how various cultures approach satirical criticism of religious figures. The international response forced American audiences to confront the global implications of their entertainment choices and consider how cultural exports could affect international relations. European broadcasting standards required extensive editing of South Park content, leading to significantly different viewing experiences across different countries. Some episodes that aired and censored in America were completely banned in certain European markets, creating a patchwork of availability that influenced how international audiences perceived the show. The varying European standards revealed how cultural and regulatory differences could fragment global media experiences. Fans in different countries were essentially watching different versions of the same show, leading to confusion and frustration among international fan communities. The international success of the Book of Mormon musical further demonstrated South Park's global appeal. Productions in London, Australia, and other countries succeeded despite concerns about local religious sensitivities, proving that Parker and Stone's satirical approach could translate effectively across different cultural contexts. Streaming services and internet distribution eventually circumvented traditional censorship barriers, allowing international audiences access to uncensored South Park content regardless of local broadcasting restrictions. This technological shift changed the dynamics of international content distribution and reduced the effectiveness of government censorship. The streaming revolution created new challenges for governments trying to control media content within their borders. South Park's availability through multiple digital platforms demonstrated how traditional censorship methods were becoming obsolete in the internet age. International fan communities developed their own traditions and interpretations of South Park content, creating dub versions, fan translations, and cultural adaptations that made the show more accessible to non-English speaking audiences. These fan efforts often exceeded official international distribution in terms of quality and cultural sensitivity. The show's economic impact extends internationally through merchandise sales, licensing agreements, and tourism. South Park-themed products sell worldwide, and Colorado tourism benefits from international visitors interested in seeing the real locations that inspired the fictional town. Educational institutions in various countries have incorporated South Park episodes into media studies, sociology, and political science curricula. International academic analysis of the show has produced scholarly work examining its satirical techniques, cultural impact, and effectiveness as social commentary. International censorship attempts have sometimes backtracked due to public pressure and changing cultural attitudes. Countries that initially banned South Park have gradually relaxed restrictions as satirical comedy became more accepted and as international pressure increased regarding free expression. The show's influence on international comedy programming is evident in various countries' attempts to create similar satirical animated series. While few international productions have achieved South Park's level of controversy or success, the show clearly inspired a global movement toward more aggressive satirical animation. The production of South Park operates like no other television series, with unique processes, unexpected challenges, and creative solutions that would be impossible to implement on any other show. These behind-the-scenes secrets reveal how Parker and Stone maintain their distinctive creative vision while meeting the demanding schedule of weekly television production. The famous 6-day production cycle that South Park follows is even more impressive than most people realize. The process begins on Wednesday when Parker and Stone start writing the script, often responding to events that occurred just days earlier. By Thursday evening, they must have a complete script ready for the voice recording sessions that begin Friday morning. Voice recording sessions typically last 12 to 16 hours, with Parker and Stone performing virtually every character in each episode. The marathon recording sessions require extraordinary vocal stamina and precise timing, as there's no time for extensive retakes or perfectionist approaches. The actors must deliver their best performances in single takes while maintaining character consistency across hundreds of different voices. The animation process begins while voice recording is still in progress, with animators working from rough scripts and preliminary audio tracks. This parallel production system requires exceptional coordination between departments and leaves no room for significant changes once the process begins. Any major script revisions must be implemented immediately or carried over to future episodes. South Park's animation team consists of a surprisingly small number of people given the show's popularity and cultural impact. While major animated films employ hundreds of animators, South Park produces weekly episodes with fewer than 50 total production staff members. This lean approach requires each team member to handle multiple responsibilities and maintain exceptional efficiency. The show's computer animation system has been continuously updated and refined over more than 2 decades, but the core philosophy remains unchanged. Maintain the construction paper aesthetic while enabling rapid production. New animation techniques are implemented only if they support faster production or enhance the show's distinctive visual style. Music production follows an equally compressed timeline, with original songs written, recorded, and mixed within the 6-day production cycle. Parker, who composes most of the show's music, often creates elaborate musical numbers in just a few hours. This rapid composition process requires exceptional musical instincts and the ability to work under extreme time pressure. The writing process involves extensive improvisation and real-time collaboration between Parker and Stone. Unlike traditional television writing rooms with multiple writers contributing jokes and storylines, South Park episodes emerge from intense creative sessions between the two creators. This collaborative approach ensures consistency of voice, but requires both creators to be available and creatively synchronized at all times. Comedy Central's involvement in South Park production is minimal compared to typical network oversight of television series. Parker and Stone negotiated unprecedented creative control that allows them to produce episodes without network approval or interference. This freedom enables the rapid response to current events that characterizes the show, but also places enormous responsibility on the creators. The show's research process for topical episodes involves intensive internet investigation, news consumption, and sometimes direct contact with experts or participants in current events. Despite the compressed production schedule, Parker and Stone commit significant time to understanding the subjects they satirize, ensuring that their commentary is informed even when it's outrageous. Celebrity voice cameos are rare partly because of the production timeline constraints. Most celebrities can't commit to the rapid recording schedule that South Park requires, and the creators prefer to maintain control over character voices anyway. When celebrities do appear, they must be available immediately and willing to work within the show's unconventional production requirements. The show's legal review process happens simultaneously with production rather than beforehand, with lawyers examining content as it's created rather than vetting scripts in advance. This approach requires entertainment lawyers who understand satirical comedy and can make rapid decisions about potential legal issues without stopping the production process. South Park's archive system maintains every element of every episode, from original scripts to final animation files. This comprehensive documentation allows the creators to reference past episodes quickly and maintains continuity across the series' long run. The archive also preserves alternative versions, deleted scenes, and unused material that provides insight into the creative process. The physical production facility operates 24 hours a day during production periods, with different departments working overlapping shifts to meet the weekly deadline. This round-the-clock operation creates a unique workplace culture that combines extreme time pressure with creative freedom. Quality control for South Park involves multiple viewing sessions where completed episodes are screened for technical errors, continuity problems, and potential legal issues. However, the compressed timeline means that minor errors sometimes make it to broadcast, adding to the show's handmade aesthetic and demonstrating the real-time nature of the production process. The show's backup systems and contingency plans account for potential technical failures, illness, or other disruptions that could prevent meeting the weekly deadline. These backup systems include pre-written emergency episodes, simplified animation techniques, and alternative distribution methods that ensure South Park maintains its weekly presence regardless of production challenges. International distribution requires additional post-production work to create versions suitable for different markets, but this work happens after the original episode airs in America. The international versions often involve re-editing, additional censorship, or alternative audio tracks that maintain the show's impact while conforming to different cultural standards. The long-term sustainability of South Park's production model depends on Parker and Stone's continued health, creative partnership, and willingness to maintain the demanding schedule. The show's future ultimately rests on two individuals' ability to continue producing weekly satirical commentary at the highest level, making it one of television's most precarious yet successful enterprises. South Park's influence on American culture extends far beyond entertainment, fundamentally changing how society discusses controversial topics, processes current events, and understands the role of satirical comedy in democratic discourse. The show has become a cultural institution that shapes public conversation in ways its creators never anticipated. The concept of South Park Republicans emerged in the early 2000s to describe a political demographic that shared the show's libertarian sensibilities, socially liberal but skeptical of government intervention and political correctness. This political classification demonstrated how a cartoon could influence real political identity and create new categories of political thought. South Park's approach to equal opportunity offense established a new standard for satirical comedy. By mocking all political perspectives, religions, and cultural groups with equal fervor, the show created a satirical framework that transcends traditional partisan boundaries. This approach influenced other comedians and writers to adopt more balanced satirical perspectives. The show's treatment of religion sparked nationwide discussions about faith, tolerance, and the limits of satirical criticism. Episodes dealing with Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Scientology, and other belief systems forced Americans to confront their attitudes toward religious criticism and free expression. These discussions often extended beyond entertainment into genuine theological and philosophical debates. Educational institutions began incorporating South Park episodes into curricula for courses on media studies, political science, sociology, and ethics. The show's sophisticated satirical techniques and cultural commentary provided rich material for academic analysis, legitimizing animated comedy as a subject worthy of scholarly attention. The show's rapid response to current events changed expectations for how entertainment media should engage with news and politics. South Park's ability to air episodes about events that occurred just days earlier created pressure on other comedy programs to become more timely and relevant in their commentary. South Park's influence on language and popular culture includes introducing phrases, concepts, and references that became part of mainstream discourse. Terms like underpants gnomes, referring to plans lacking crucial middle steps, and man-bear-pig, referring to exaggerated environmental claims, entered common usage among people who might never have watched the episodes that originated them. The show's portrayal of childhood and parenting challenged conventional assumptions about protecting children from adult themes. By showing children discussing complex political, social, and philosophical issues, South Park suggested that young people were more capable of handling sophisticated content than many adults assumed. South Park's economic impact extends beyond direct revenue from the show itself. The series has influenced tourism to Colorado, inspired merchandise sales, contributed to Comedy Central's growth as a network, and demonstrated the economic potential of controversial content when handled skillfully. The show's treatment of celebrity culture and fame helped normalize the idea that public figures should expect satirical criticism. South Park's fearless approach to mocking celebrities contributed to a cultural shift where public figures became more accepting of satirical treatment as part of their public roles. Internet culture and social media discourse have been significantly influenced by South Park's satirical techniques and perspectives. Memes, viral videos, and online commentary often employ similar satirical strategies that South Park pioneered on television. The show's influence can be seen in how online communities approach controversial topics and develop satirical content. South Park's international influence includes inspiring satirical programs in other countries and contributing to global discussions about free expression and cultural criticism. The show's approach to satirical comedy has been studied and emulated by creators worldwide who seek to develop similar cultural commentary for their own societies. The show's handling of social issues like LGBTQ+ rights, racial tensions, and economic inequality has contributed to broader cultural conversations about these topics. While South Park's treatment isn't always progressive by contemporary standards, the show has consistently forced audiences to examine their assumptions and biases about social issues. Mental health discussions have been influenced by South Park's portrayal of psychological issues, family dysfunction, and social pressure. Episodes dealing with depression, anxiety, and other mental health topics have contributed to reducing stigma around these issues and encouraging more open discussion about psychological well-being. The show's critique of consumer culture and corporate influence has shaped how Americans think about advertising, brand loyalty, and consumer manipulation. South Park's satirical treatment of corporate behavior has contributed to increased skepticism about marketing claims and corporate social responsibility initiatives. Environmental discussions have been significantly influenced by South Park's treatment of climate change and environmental activism. While the show's perspectives on environmental issues have evolved over time, its influence on how Americans discuss environmental topics remains substantial. The show's portrayal of education and school systems has influenced discussions about educational policy, teacher effectiveness, and student experience. South Park's satirical treatment of educational issues has contributed to broader conversations about the effectiveness of American educational institutions. South Park's influence on parenting culture includes changing how parents think about media consumption, content appropriateness, and children's exposure to controversial topics. The show has forced parents to consider whether protecting children from difficult subjects actually serves their best interests. The long-term cultural impact of South Park continues to evolve as new generations discover the show and interpret its content through contemporary perspectives. The series' influence on American culture appears likely to persist long after the show ends, as its satirical techniques and cultural commentary have become integral parts of how Americans process controversial topics and engage in cultural criticism. South Park's relationship with its fan community represents one of the most dynamic and influential fan cultures in television history. The show's fans haven't just consumed content passively. They've created an entire ecosystem of analysis, creativity, and cultural commentary that extends and amplifies the show's impact. Online forums dedicated to South Park emerged in the early days of the internet, creating spaces where fans could discuss episodes, share theories, and analyze the show's satirical techniques. These early communities established traditions of episode analysis and cultural commentary that influenced how fans engage with satirical media more broadly. Fan-created content inspired by South Park includes artwork, fiction, videos, and music that demonstrate the depth of fan engagement with the show's characters and themes. Unlike many fan communities that focus on romantic relationships or character development, South Park fans often create satirical content that mimics the show's approach to social commentary. The phenomenon of South Park memes predates the mainstream internet meme culture, with fans creating and sharing humorous images, phrases, and concepts based on episode content. These fan-created memes often become more widely known than the episodes that inspired them, extending the show's cultural reach beyond its direct audience. Online episode discussions and analysis have become sophisticated forms of cultural criticism, with fans examining the show's satirical techniques, cultural references, and social commentary in detail. These discussions often include participants with expertise in politics, religion, philosophy, and other fields relevant to the show's content. Fan theories about South Park's internal mythology, character relationships, and hidden meanings have created complex interpretive frameworks that treat the show as serious cultural text worthy of scholarly analysis. These theories demonstrate how satirical comedy can generate the same level of fan engagement typically associated with dramatic series. The show's rapid production schedule has created unique opportunities for fan interaction, as fans can predict, suggest, or respond to episode topics in real time. This dynamic relationship between creators and fans is unusual in television and demonstrates how satirical comedy can create ongoing cultural dialogue. International fan communities have developed their own traditions and perspectives on South Park content, often providing cultural context for American viewers who might miss certain references. These international fans contribute alternative interpretations and expand the show's global cultural impact. Fan conventions and gatherings focused on South Park create physical spaces where online communities can meet and celebrate their shared interest. These events often include discussions about the show's cultural impact, satirical techniques, and social commentary, treating South Park as serious cultural phenomenon rather than simple entertainment. The preservation of South Park content by fans has become an important cultural service, as fans maintain archives of episodes, deleted scenes, and behind-the-scenes material that might otherwise be lost. These fan archives serve as historical records of the show's evolution and cultural impact. Fan reaction videos and commentary tracks have become popular ways for viewers to share their responses to South Park episodes, creating additional layers of interpretation and analysis. These fan-generated responses often become part of how other fans experience and understand episode content. The economics of South Park fan culture includes merchandise collecting, convention attendance, and support for fan-created content. This economic activity demonstrates the commercial value of passionate fan communities and influences how networks and creators approach fan engagement. Academic fans have produced scholarly work about South Park that bridges the gap between fan enthusiasm and serious cultural analysis. These academic fans contribute to legitimizing satirical animation as worthy of scholarly attention while maintaining their status as genuine fans of the content. Social media has amplified South Park fan culture by providing platforms for immediate reaction, discussion, and content sharing. Twitter discussions about new episodes often trend globally, demonstrating the show's continued cultural relevance and the passion of its fan community. Fan-created educational content about South Park includes episode guides, character analyses, and cultural context explanations that help new viewers understand references and appreciate the show's sophistication. These fan-created resources serve as unofficial curricula for understanding satirical comedy. The relationship between South Park creators and fans is notably respectful and collaborative, with Parker and Stone acknowledging fan contributions and occasionally incorporating fan suggestions into episodes. This collaborative relationship is unusual in television and demonstrates how satirical comedy can benefit from audience input. Fan criticism and analysis of South Park episodes often influence broader cultural discussions about the topics the show addresses. When fans analyze episodes dealing with political or social issues, their discussions contribute to public discourse about these topics beyond the entertainment context. The generational aspects of South Park fan culture include older fans who have followed the show since its inception and younger fans who discover it through streaming and social media. These different generational perspectives on the show's content create rich discussions about cultural change and satirical relevance. Fan-created games, apps, and interactive content based on South Park demonstrate the creative potential of passionate fan communities. These fan projects often exceed official merchandise in creativity and cultural relevance, showing how fans can extend and enhance original content. The influence of South Park fan culture on other television fandoms includes the adoption of satirical analysis techniques and the expectation that comedy shows should engage with serious cultural topics. South Park fans have influenced how other fan communities approach satirical content and cultural commentary. The future of South Park fan culture will likely involve new technologies and platforms that enable even more sophisticated fan interaction and content creation. As virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and other technologies develop, South Park fans will probably find new ways to engage with and extend the show's cultural impact. As South Park approaches its third decade on television, questions about the show's future become increasingly relevant and complex. The series has survived multiple predictions of its demise, adapted to changing cultural landscapes, and maintained relevance across different generations of viewers. But the challenges ahead require new forms of innovation and adaptation. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, now in their 50s, face the natural question of how long they can maintain the demanding pace of weekly satirical commentary. The 6-day production cycle that enables South Park's rapid response to current events requires enormous energy and creativity that becomes more challenging to sustain over time. However, both creators have expressed continued enthusiasm for the project and seem committed to maintaining their unique approach to satirical animation. The changing media landscape presents both opportunities and challenges for South Park's future. Streaming services have created new distribution possibilities and global reach, but they've also fragmented audiences and changed expectations for content consumption. South Park's traditional weekly episode format must compete with binge-watchable series and shorter-form content that dominates social media platforms. Cultural and political changes in American society will inevitably influence South Park's content and reception. Topics that were controversial 20 years ago might seem tame today, while new cultural sensitivities could make some of the show's traditional approaches problematic for contemporary audiences. The creators must balance their commitment to free expression with evolving cultural standards and expectations. The next generation of South Park viewers discovers the show through different contexts than original audiences. Younger viewers who access episodes through streaming platforms or social media clips experience the content differently than viewers who followed the show's weekly development over decades. This changing audience dynamic influences how the show's satirical techniques and cultural references are received and understood. Technology will likely play an increasing role in South Park's future production and distribution. Advances in animation technology could enable new visual styles or faster production techniques, while artificial intelligence and machine learning might assist with research, fact-checking, or even content generation. However, the show's commitment to its distinctive aesthetic and creative approach will limit how extensively new technologies are adopted. International expansion opportunities continue to grow as global streaming platforms make South Park accessible to new international audiences. The show's satirical approach to American culture often resonates with international viewers who appreciate outsider perspectives on American politics and society. However, cultural differences and censorship concerns will continue to influence how the show is received globally. The potential for South Park franchise expansion includes possibilities like spin-off series, feature films, video games, or other media properties. The Book of Mormon musical demonstrated that Parker and Stone's satirical sensibilities can succeed in different formats, suggesting potential for South Park content beyond traditional television episodes. Educational and academic interest in South Park will likely continue growing as scholars and educators recognize the show's cultural significance and sophisticated satirical techniques. This academic attention could influence how the show is preserved, studied, and understood by future generations, potentially establishing South Park as an important cultural artifact rather than simply entertainment. The show's influence on other creators and satirical comedy will continue evolving as new generations of writers and animators develop their own approaches to satirical content. South Park has established techniques and standards for satirical animation that future creators will either emulate or react against, ensuring the show's continued influence even after it ends. Legal and regulatory challenges may affect South Park's future as governments and organizations worldwide grapple with questions about free expression, hate speech, and content regulation. The show's history of controversial content makes it a natural target for censorship attempts, but also positions it as an important test case for free expression principles. The economics of South Park's future depend on continued audience interest, advertiser support, and distribution platform relationships. While the show has proven remarkably durable economically, changing media economics and viewing habits could affect its long-term financial viability. However, the show's relatively low production costs and strong brand recognition provide advantages in an uncertain media landscape. Climate change and environmental concerns may influence South Park's content as these issues become increasingly central to global politics and culture. The show's previous treatment of environmental topics has evolved over time, and future episodes will likely reflect changing scientific understanding and cultural attitudes toward environmental issues. Social media integration and audience interaction present opportunities for South Park to develop new forms of engagement with viewers. While the show has traditionally maintained some distance from its audience, social media platforms could enable new types of real-time interaction and feedback that influence content creation. The preservation of South Park's cultural legacy requires ongoing efforts to maintain access to episodes, document behind-the-scenes processes, and analyze the show's cultural impact. As television history becomes increasingly important to media studies and cultural analysis, South Park's historical significance will likely grow rather than diminish over time. Succession planning for South Park's creative leadership represents a significant challenge, as the show is so closely associated with Parker and Stone's specific creative vision. While the creators have occasionally worked with other writers and directors, the show's future beyond their direct involvement remains uncertain and complex. The potential for South Park to address emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and biotechnology provides new opportunities for satirical commentary. These technological developments create new sources of social anxiety and cultural confusion that align perfectly with South Park's traditional focus on exposing societal absurdities. Ultimately, South Park's future depends on its ability to continue finding new ways to surprise, offend, and enlighten audiences while maintaining the creative integrity that has sustained it for more than 2 decades. The show's track record suggests remarkable adaptability and resilience, but the challenges ahead will test whether satirical animation can continue serving important cultural functions in an increasingly complex media environment. As we reach the end of our journey through the snowy streets of South Park, it's worth reflecting on how a simple cartoon about four foul-mouthed kids from Colorado became one of the most influential television series in history. South Park's legacy extends far beyond entertainment. It has fundamentally changed how we think about comedy, free expression, and the role of satirical media in democratic society. The show's most significant achievement may be its demonstration that animated comedy can tackle serious subjects with sophistication and intelligence. Before South Park, animated series were largely considered children's entertainment with occasional adult humor. Parker and Stone proved that animation could serve as a vehicle for complex social commentary, political analysis, and philosophical exploration while remaining thoroughly entertaining. South Park's approach to controversy has established new standards for satirical comedy and free expression. By consistently defending their right to mock any subject, target any figure, and challenge any orthodoxy, the creators have maintained space for satirical criticism that benefits all forms of creative expression. Their willingness to accept consequences for controversial content has demonstrated both the costs and benefits of uncompromising artistic vision. The show's influence on how Americans process current events and cultural change cannot be overstated. South Park's rapid response to news developments has created expectations that satirical comedy should provide immediate commentary on current events. This influence extends beyond entertainment to journalism, political commentary, and public discourse generally. The technical innovations that South Park pioneered in animation production have influenced the entire industry. The show's combination of computer animation with traditional aesthetic choices proved that new technology could enhance rather than replace established artistic approaches. This balance between innovation and tradition has become a model for other creative projects seeking to modernize while maintaining distinctive character. South Park's international impact demonstrates how American satirical comedy can transcend cultural boundaries and contribute to global discussions about free expression, religious tolerance, and political criticism. The show's global reach has made it an ambassador for American comedy traditions, while exposing American audiences to international perspectives on their own culture. The educational value of South Park, while often overlooked, represents one of its most important contributions. The show has taught viewers about political processes, religious traditions, philosophical concepts, and cultural issues through satirical storytelling that makes complex topics accessible and memorable. This educational function often occurs without viewers realizing they're learning, making it particularly effective. The show's treatment of childhood and family relationships has influenced how American culture thinks about children's intelligence, resilience, and capacity for handling difficult subjects. By portraying children as capable of understanding and discussing complex issues, South Park has challenged assumptions about what content is appropriate for different ages and what children actually understand about the world around them. South Park's economic success has proven that controversial content can be commercially viable when handled skillfully. This demonstration has encouraged other creators to take risks with difficult subject matter and has shown networks and studios that audiences appreciate content that challenges conventional boundaries. The show's financial success has subsidized numerous other creative projects and demonstrated the economic value of artistic integrity. The preservation of South Park episodes and behind-the-scenes materials has created an invaluable historical record of American culture during the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Future historians and cultural analysts will find in South Park's archives a detailed record of how Americans processed major events, cultural changes, and social developments during this period. The show's influence on other creators extends beyond direct imitation to include changes in how satirical content is conceived, produced, and distributed. Writers, animators, and comedians across all media have adopted techniques and approaches that South Park pioneered, ensuring that its influence will continue even after the show ends. South Park's fan community represents one of the most engaged and intellectually curious audiences in television. These fans have contributed to cultural discussions, academic research, and creative projects that extend the show's impact beyond its original context. The passionate engagement of South Park fans demonstrates how satirical comedy can create meaningful connections between creators and audiences. The show's approach to character development and storytelling has proven that satirical comedy can support complex narratives and emotional development while maintaining its primary function as entertainment. Characters like Randy Marsh, Butterscotch, and even Eric Cartman have become fully realized personalities whose development across multiple seasons demonstrates the potential for growth within satirical frameworks. South Park's treatment of religion, politics, and social issues has contributed to important cultural conversations about tolerance, free expression, and the role of criticism in democratic society. While not everyone agrees with the show's perspectives or approaches, its willingness to engage seriously with difficult topics has enriched public discourse and encouraged more thoughtful consideration of complex issues. The technological legacy of South Park includes not just animation techniques, but also innovations in rapid content production, current events integration, and audience engagement. These technical achievements have influenced how other media properties approach timeliness, relevance, and audience interaction in an era of accelerated news cycles and social media communication. As we consider South Park's place in television history, it's clear that the show represents a unique achievement in American culture. It has combined entertainment with education, controversy with insight, and crude humor with sophisticated analysis in ways that few other creative works have accomplished. Whether South Park continues for another decade or concludes soon, its influence on American culture, international comedy, and the possibilities of satirical expression will endure. The ultimate lesson of South Park may be that comedy serves essential functions in democratic society that go far beyond entertainment. By forcing audiences to examine their assumptions, question authority, and confront uncomfortable truths, satirical comedy like South Park helps maintain the intellectual flexibility and critical thinking that democratic societies require to function effectively. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember that somewhere in the snowy mountains of Colorado, for kids are still getting into trouble, asking difficult questions, and reminding us that sometimes the most important truths come from the most unexpected sources. Sweet dreams, and thanks for taking this journey through the wild, wonderful, and eternally controversial world of South Park.